Okay, as promised in the last live stream, we are returning to our football club history series. We're looking at Rotherham United. Now, the reason why I'm doing Rotherham United in this video is, firstly, they are one of the last English Football League clubs that I haven't done a club history on, and secondly, they are the first club to be relegated from a league this season and confirmed as relegated. They obviously got relegated Friday night after losing 1-0 to Plymouth Argyle. They therefore cannot get enough points to stay up in the Championship. They will be playing in League One next season. But let's have a look at a brief look at their history. And their stadium history is very, very important because there was some stadium issues and some ownership issues in the 2000s into the 2010s that led them to be playing in Sheffield for a while at an athletics stadium. Now, the club itself, Rotherham United, nicknamed the Millers, they're founded in 1925 as a merger of two clubs in Rotherham, which were Rotherham County and Rotherham Town, and immediately they are placed in the Football League in 1925. Now, their current stadium is the New York Stadium, which currently has a capacity of just over 12,000 at 12,021. Now let's talk about that stadium history, which also links into the ownership issues they had in the late 2000s and early 2010s. They used to play famously at Millmoor. Millmoor was used by one of the previous clubs that was part of that merger in 1925. Now, Millmoor was a stadium from 1907 to 2008. And it's towards the end of the time at Millmoor that there's some ownership issues. And there are some problems with ownership and money. Rotherham fans will know all about this. And there's a period where they're not playing in Rotherham. They can't expand Millmoor and redevelop it. They try to. There's issues with ownership, a lot of problems with ownership. They end up playing at the Don Valley Athletics Stadium in Sheffield between 2008 and 2012. But it's towards the end of their time at Don Valley Stadium that plans with the new ownership for the New York Stadium are put in place early on in 2010, and it's finally completed and they move in for the 2012-2013 season. With that period where they're playing at the Don Valley Stadium, they were sort of exiles out of their own home. They weren't actually playing in Rotherham, they were actually playing in Sheffield. The records, however, are really, really interesting. So their highest ever league finishing position was third in the old Division 2 in the 54-55 season, so they've never been in the top flight. They've never got past the fifth round in the FA Cup. They've made the fifth round of the FA Cup twice in the 52-53 season and the 67-68 season. Their top league goal scorer of all time is Gladstone Guest. What a name. He scored 130 goals in the league between 1946 and 1956. Their top all-time cup goal scorer is Alan Crawford with 18 goals between 1974 and 1979. Their most league goals in a season, Wally Arden with 38 in the 46-47 season. And their record appearance holder, who also became their manager at one point, was the late great Danny Williams with 621 appearances between 1943 and 1965. He recently passed away only a couple of years ago, did the late great Danny Williams. Now, they did actually appear. They have a bit of a quirky bit of history. They appeared in the first ever League Cup final against Aston Villa, which they lost, but they've also won the EFL Trophy twice in the 95-96 season, and in the 2021-2022 season they've got bits of minor silverware, and of course they had that League Cup runners-up medal in the 1960-61 season when they weren't even a top flight club. They've never been in the top flight. So there's a brief history of Rotherham United. They are a bit of a yo-yo club. If you look at their league finishing position, they're either in the Championship or they're in what is now League One. So the old Division 2 and the old Division 3. Basically, they yo-yo between the leagues. Obviously, this season puts an end to their brief stint in the Championship. They'll be back in League One. And they are one of those clubs that can't really find a division to stabilise in. They're too good for League One, not good enough for the Championship. A bit of a yo-yo club, and a lot of clubs go through this in their history. Famously, West Brom were a bit of a yo-yo club in the Premier League. They're stuck back down in the Championship at the moment, but they were a Premier League club. And some clubs fall down the divisions when they are at the top, for example, end up further down the Football League pyramid, even into the non-league. Look at Oldham, for example, ex-Premier League club. So Rotherham having a bit of a tough season this season. They've had a really dreadful season. Only a handful of league wins. One of the worst Championship seasons, I think, on recent record. Terrible season. Finished bottom. They can't escape the drop, so there's still games to play. They've got nothing to play for now apart from pride. They will be playing in League One next season. They currently play, as I said, at the New York Stadium. But it's that period when they leave Millmoor before they go to the New York Stadium where they're stuck in purgatory. Basically, they have that ownership issue. They can't continue to develop Millmoor. They end up at an athletic stadium in Sheffield for 4 years, and that was a very dark time for the club. Now, we'll see what happens in League One next season. We'll see if they can bounce straight back up to the Championship. So we'll see what happens there. Some interesting records there. But for me, for now, thank you very much for watching. The next set of football club histories will be, I'll be looking at the Swiss League, I'll be looking at the Austrian League and some of the Scandinavian leagues. They look quite interesting, and there's some very interesting clubs to look at there with some pretty interesting names. But that is Rotherham United. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below. If you are a Rotherham United fan, can you add a bit more meat to the bones about the Don Valley Stadium era and the ownership problems that beset the end of the time at Millmoor? That'd be very, very interesting. But from me for now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.